Hello, and we are back for another stream. Might notice a little something different here. We have a bit of a change as far as the scenery, but I want to do some calisthenics talk today, so I thought it would be good to change it up a little. And so from what you can see, and actually before I get into the calisthenics portion, you'll notice there is a new word above my webcam there, and that is lacuna. That is the word of the stream. As I mentioned before, I'm a very, very avid reader, and anytime I see a word that is new to me, I don't understand in that book or article or whatever, but it's almost always a book, I take note of it and then I look it up just so I know the context. I know exactly what the author is trying to convey, because context is quite important. And lacuna is one of those words. And I know of the word from a band. I believe they're called Lacuna Coil. However, the definition of it is an unfilled space or gap, which I did not know. And there we are. So I recorded it, put the definition, and then added it to my little vocabulary list that I maintain. So that's the word of the stream, lacuna. Onward. So calisthenics talk. So the change of scenery there is a picture of me doing a V-sit on some parallel bars. And I wanted to talk midsection holds today because they really renewed my passion for core work. And this is going back a while now, but when I was lifting weights, I really wasn't that engaged in core work. And that could also be a product of just the age that I was too, and it's completely my fault. I mean, you could obviously strength train with weights and work your core out, which I highly encourage. But for me at that time, I really wasn't. And calisthenics was something that really reignited my joy and passion for core training. And I'm really grateful for that. And calisthenics did it, I think, mainly because it really encourages a synergy in your body, in the muscles that are being engaged. They're often a full body endeavor, midsection holds, and the other kind of segment of core training that I really enjoy still to this day is hanging leg raise variations. And that's something that I'll get into another time. But midsection holds really ignited my passion for core work again. So I'm very grateful, and I wanted to talk a bit about that. So the background, that's me doing a V-sit, which is a lot of fun. Love that exercise. And then in the bottom right is a video that I'm just going to leave on loop, demonstrating a progression that I put together from the Jackknife Hold to the L-sit. So what I want to do is, I'm not going to go exhaustive as far as how much I talk about it, but there are some key points that I do want to discuss. And I also released a podcast episode that did go into detail. It's it's episode number 23, if I'm not mistaken. And I talk a lot about midsection hold. So if you do want to learn more about that, check out the podcast. However, today I do want to just address some main points. So I'll leave that video on loop for you guys to see. That way you can get not only the concept of what I'm discussing, but also a visual to relate it to, which I think is pretty important. And the first thing you may notice is that the holds each isn't that long. It's not like I'm holding them for 30 to 60 seconds or anything like that. And that's not only in the interests of brevity for the actual videos, to give the viewer a good glimpse of each progression, but they'll very likely start off that way. I mean, these exercises, especially as you progress, are really difficult. And for the untrained person, even something like a jackknife hold can be very difficult, and that's totally fine. We all have our skill set and our level that we start at, and that's really the essence of progressive calisthenics, is finding where you are at that time and then progressing from there in an intelligent and in manageable manner suitable to your current skill set. So this goes from the jackknife hold to the Izzet, and at the beginning, the amount of time that you hold each progression or wherever you start is likely to be pretty short. I mean, it could be 1 to 3 seconds, and I know that was the case for me. I remember I was a little ambitious in first starting, and I remember this quite vividly. I was at the gym, and the end hold, which was just pictured there, I tried it on a flat surface. It was just a yoga mat, and failed pretty miserably. I couldn't even hold it, which was a bit discouraging, but at the same time, kind of like, okay, well, I haven't really practiced midsection holds at all, or very little anyway at that time, so I can't be too hard on myself. And I kind of had to really say to myself, all right, I need to step back. Because at that time, I practiced mostly hanging leg raise variations, which I really love doing and I think are great. But I wanted to be specific. You know, I needed to strengthen my hip flexors, the psoas, my abdominals. So I wanted to be very specific and train midsection holds. You know, it's kind of I think it's the rule of specificity, you know, where it's, if you want to get good at something, train that very thing. So that's kind of where I had to start there. So I went back really to not quite the jackknife hold, although I did do it. I did sort of the front, or the tuck lever, I should say, and the raised tuck lever, and just started from there, and really focused on my technique, because that's extremely important, and something that I got to appreciate more as just I gained more experience. But age as well. It's kind of like, you know, don't try and rush things. Yeah, so that one right there, the raised tuck hold, is where I went back and really just started from almost scratch. But yeah, I kind of have to accept, listen, I got to go back here and just start from the beginning and build the proper foundation. 1 second. Just going to take care of one thing here first. Apologize for the brief interruption, folks. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right. Back to it. Where was I? Yeah, so I had to regress a fair bit, and that's okay. I mean, going to more of a general level, there will definitely be times where you really should regress. And whether that's because, I mean, I found for myself there was just something, whether it was my instincts or something like that, saying, you know what, that really didn't feel great. You need to take a step back. And that's the power of understanding progressive calisthenics and really knowing how to regress or progress exercises in order to suit your capabilities. So I had to go back and do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it might be a hit to your confidence or something like that at the moment, but long-term play, it's the better thing to do. And it just allows you to apply better technique overall. And I think it just builds a level of confidence in yourself too that I think is more important, because you'll be able to actually execute the movement better. Even though it might be a regression, you'll have better technique, you'll get more out of the exercise, and I think you'll just feel better about it overall. And these types of things too, like midsection holds and a lot of different exercises within progressive calisthenics, they demand a skill aspect to it as well, whether it's balance, coordination, proprioception. So keep that in mind as well. So, kind of winding everything up here now, when attempting these, it's very likely that your attempts will be short. You might even be able to hold them for 1 to 3 seconds, and that's okay. What you'd want to do then is just apply as many sets as you can. So if you're only holding for 1 or 2 seconds, try doing 10 sets and take a good amount of rest between, because there's a high degree of engagement of stress that you're putting on your body while trying these. So if you have to take a little more time to get some rest, that's fine. You're building strength and you're wrapping your head around executing these exercises. So that's okay. And don't force it. So the next thing I want to do is just kind of talk a little bit about the progression and aspects of the progression. And the raised tuck hold is one that I want to mention specifically, because it's often neglected or just skipped completely in midsection hold training. And the great thing about the raised tuck hold is it really helps to strengthen the trunk. And I guess it's similar in a way to the starting position of a dip. But in the raised tuck hold, you're of course bending the legs and then bringing them upward. You're engaging the core. And that's something that you can do in the dip as well. But you're maintaining a similar position, but engaging the core to a higher degree. And the legs are below the body, which is a really key aspect of the progression concepts of midsection holds, because it just it demands less of the abdomen if the legs are below the waist, and that is important. And if that's where you have to start, that's great, So really try to incorporate the raised tuck hold into your training, because it'll help you develop that strength in your trunk, but also engage the core at a level that might be suitable for where you are. And then of course the jackknife hold is a great place to start as well. In the video I have my legs straightened, but you don't have to do that. I mean, if you want to regress the exercise, you can bend the legs and then go from there. And that's something that can be applied to all of the exercises here. And I hinted at it earlier, but you can adjust sort of the principles of progression. And I already talked about one of them, and that's the hips. So the 3 key things that you want to acknowledge in your midsection hold training are hip placement, the length of the lever, which is essentially whether your legs are straightened or not, and the degree to which they're bent or straight. And then the height of the pressing base. So you'll notice throughout this video that I start off on raised surfaces. So there I'm on the bleachers and I'm applying the exercise, and then there on the end hold, I am on a flat surface, on some sort of bin or something like that. So to reiterate, you have hip placement, and that goes back to where the legs are positioned, if they're under your body or if they're forward. And the hips really determine that. If your hips are forward, your legs are going to be in front of the body. If your hips are back, as seen in the raised tuck hold, then the legs will be below the body. And then you have height of the pressing base and the lever. So those are kind of three important aspects that I want to highlight. And if you want to adjust the difficulty of whatever stage you're at, you can manipulate those things. And again, that's what's really amazing about progressive calisthenics. Another thing, and it's related to hip placement, is one thing you'll notice in the video is sort of in the beginning stages, I have a lean forward. And then as the progressions get more and more difficult, you'll see that I have an upright body position and I'm leaning, either just kind of staying upright or leaning further and further back. And that's important for reasons I've already mentioned, because the hips slowly move forward. And even maintaining an upright posture is more difficult, because it shifts a lot of emphasis to your triceps, and your upper body in order to maintain that upright posture. So really expect a large boost in difficulty when you try and incorporate that. So I recommend really maximizing your training in the first few variations that you see in this video. But going back to that upright posture, that becomes extremely important as you progress. So I encourage you to really train it extensively early. That way you're very well positioned when you want to attempt things like the raised L hold, or the L sits, or even uneven L sits or L holds, because building that foundation will do a lot to help. So I think this is a really good progression. Now, it certainly isn't the only way to progress. I mean, any of the progression videos I've made are the path that I took in order to achieve kind of the final maneuver or hold that I've put in the video. So this is the path that I took. And the uneven end hold, which was kind of pictured there for a second, that can also be done as sort of like a hybrid static and moving exercise, where you straighten one leg, bend the other, and then kind of alternate, which can add a little bit of difficulty and test the skill-based aspects of the exercise as well. And just a little bit more on the upright posture. If you find that you are at a progression and you really aren't able to maintain an upright posture, it's a good idea to regress and try an easier variation before you move on. And that really relates to all the factors that I discussed earlier. But even if it takes you a fair bit longer to progress, try not to let that really bring you down or hold you up, because it's so worth it. I mean, there are areas where I had to regress, and this is one of them. And even in jump rope, I've had to regress a fair bit in certain areas, which feels bad. But long term, it's just such a great play, because last thing you want to do is develop bad habits, whether that's in technique, or even in your mindset too. I mean, if you're just kind of like, forget it, I'm going to do the best I can, even if my technique's off or something like that, there will always be a point in your progressions or wherever you are that is going to test the undeveloped aspects of your technique, your strength, your capabilities, and you'll sort of hit a wall. And jump rope was a great example of that because, you know, whether it was, say, wrist movement and wrist rotation, if you're trying a technique that demands very quick wrist rotation and strength, like say the triple under, and you really didn't develop that through just your kind of normal bounce step or even double unders, there will come a point where you just don't have enough strength and or speed to execute the triple under, and you just won't be able to do it. Or if you can, it's sparingly and very sloppy. So that's not a position you want to be in because you'll develop bad habits from there, and then it'll be a rough go. So take the time to step back, regress, understand what you're doing, and understand the principles of progression. And that's a concept that I'll be talking about extensively throughout as I talk about different areas of progressive calisthenics. But in this case, specific to the midsection hold, again, I want to reiterate, it's hip location, the length of the lever, and the height of the pressing base. And height of the pressing base, I touched on it earlier, but the key aspects in the first few progressions of this video is having a higher pressing base allows you more leeway in the positioning of your hips. So again, we go back to hip placement. You know, in the uneven end hold, or you know, as compared to the raised L hold, in the uneven end hold there, I was on a flat surface. So really my hips could only go back so much, and then my legs are only really able to bend and drop so much because, of course, the flat surface is preventing me from doing that. And the parallettes, or the parallel bars that I'm using in this video, they allow more leeway. So my hips can drop lower, my legs can drop below parallel to the ground, and it's just putting less demand on my abdomen and my hips, you know, the hip flexors, the psoas, really everything. And that's key. I mean, a higher pressing base is a great way to regress your exercise. And that L hold, the raised L hold, is kind of the next level in that. I remember when I hit the raised L hold, it was a great moment because I took one variable, and that's the length of the lever. So my legs were fully extended, but I used another principle of progression or variable to make it a bit easier. So, you know, that's something else that you can manipulate, is there's the different principles of progression that you can adjust to make one area more difficult, but then to mitigate the overall difficulty by, you know, kind of decreasing the emphasis on another variable. So, and that applies through so many different areas of progressive calisthenics in general. And that's why I love it so much, because with weight training, you kind of just put less weight on the bar or pick up less weight with the dumbbells, which is great. I mean, I have certainly nothing against weight training at all. It's awesome, and I encourage people to do it, to be active. But calisthenics was great and is great, I think, because it's a large change. You know, you're changing sometimes completely what you're doing, and understanding the principles of progression for me added a whole new level to my training, which I thought was so cool, and part of why, you know, I love it so much. So anyway, I can go on and on. But another thing to consider, and this is an area that I had some trouble with, was flexibility, because that does play a factor, especially for flat surface midsection holds. And by flat surface, I mean where they're not raised. if you may have the strength to do something, but if you don't have the flexibility in your hamstrings, especially, it can really prevent you from being able to lift your legs, you know, and getting a good midsection hold in. And then when you lack the flexibility, the hips will kind of shift forward, or you'll develop an arch. You won't be able to maintain the upright posture in your midsection hold, and that of course compromises your technique. So something I had to do was really incorporate some stretches that supplemented my midsection hold training. So keep that in mind and try and notice when you're executing your techniques. It's like, okay, you know, how does my strength feel here? Is that what's holding me back? Do I not have the strength in my abdomen, say, or my trunk? Or do I feel like I do, but my flexibility is holding me back? So, you know, try and notice those things as you're executing your techniques, and try and just maintain a very stable, controlled technique. And that's really important. And that goes back to where I was talking about regression and being able to regress and step back and say, okay, you know, I was losing my technique, my legs were dropping, or I started to hunch my shoulders, and I'm doing that, so I think I need to take a step back. The flexibility part was a little annoying, in all honesty. It's like, but that's always been a challenge for me, is flexibility, and I've improved a great deal over the years, and that's something else that I love about calisthenics and progressive calisthenics, is that it encourages overall flexibility, which in turn really facilitates great functionality and functional fitness. And that's what I'm interested in mostly, personally. So hopefully the flexibility side doesn't hamper you too much, but you know, whenever I would pick a day or days during the week to train midsection holds, I would just supplement by starting off with some good stretches, and then perform the techniques, and then perform the stretches again afterwards. And one hard lesson, and I just thought of this now, that I learned was to set a day aside specifically for midsection holds. And I essentially wasn't giving them enough respect, you know, the respect that they deserve, because I'd often do something else first and then perform midsection holds. So I was often tired. I was gassed when I went into my midsection holds training, and I didn't realize how demanding they were initially. And they really are very difficult exercises. So what I started to do was just set a day specifically aside for midsection holds, because I was finding that it was my training for that maneuver specifically, or that segment of my training specifically, was suffering because I just wasn't respecting it as much as I should have. So I think that's a really good start for midsection holds. Hopefully the visual that I've provided there is useful. This video is off of my YouTube page. It's also on Facebook, both under Elevate Your Craft, all one word. So you can view the video again if you'd like on there. And I have a handful of progression videos now, and I've kept the format pretty similar for all of them. And once again, I'd like to emphasize, this is the path that I took to progress in my midsection hold training. So whether that is the same for you, you know, it may or may not be. I encourage you to explore progressive calisthenics as not only sort of a structure to your training, but as a concept, you know, understanding why and how you can make, why you should understand how you can regress and progress, but also how you can do those things as well. Okay, so I think that's all I got for this particular segment. Let me know what you think. I mean, I'm eager to hear your feedback on these exercises. If you're at a certain level and you're stuck, or you've had some success and want to share that, please do. I'm always up for hearing feedback and that kind of thing. And I do encourage you, once again, to check out the supplemental podcast. It is episode 23, I believe. Yes, episode number 23. It's the Midsection Holds feature companion episode. So I go into more depth on midsection holds and my own experience with them. So you can check that out for more details. Otherwise, just holler at me. Let me know, ask questions, offer any feedback that you can. I'm happy to help if I am able. Okay. So I think that's a good time to end off on the midsection holds segment. We'll switch it over to some Arena. Which I've got ready to go. All right, so we are working on getting a few more cards for the mono red Aggro, which is somewhere here, down here. Izzet spells 2. Yeah, so this is the, oh, it looks like my graphics are a little odd. We'll go 1080. So this is based off, I believe it was Owen Turtenwald's list, and this deck did have some success in a recent GP, Lille, if that's correct in my pronunciation, L-I-L-L-E. It was mono red and mono blue tempo that ended up in the finals. So we didn't see this deck in the top 2, but that's okay. I believe it did have a lot of success. So I'm hoping to finish this deck off and in mono red aggro. 3 cards that I need, and that is 3 more Arclight Phoenix. Otherwise, I believe I have the full list. I'm going to look at the other iterations of this deck as well, and then maybe just update accordingly. But I really want a successful meta deck. That way I can compete with the other meta decks out there. The other one, I mean, the Izzet Spells deck, whoops, that I do have built isn't quite up to par with what's out there. So my success is somewhat limited. I'm sure that's also due to just my lack of experience in the game, which is, you know, totally fine. But I do want to have a couple meta decks built. That way I can just compete at the same level, at least as far as the deck's capabilities go. Now, the other factor to consider is whether I would pilot the deck to the level that it really demands. And that's unlikely, again, just due to lack of experience in Magic overall, but that's the goal anyway. And then we can kind of get into more competitive matches and that kind of thing. So right now we're really just grinding out to hopefully get the last. We need 1 more Rekindling Phoenix and 3 Runaway Steamkins, and then we'll have mono red aggro, or 2 Runaway Steamkins, I believe. Then we'll have mono red aggro complete, and then the cards, the 3 Arclight Phoenixes for the Izzet Spells deck. On the draw, I mean, this hand isn't great. Dive Down's not really going to do much. Firemind's Research is okay, but I have no instants or sorceries that I'm likely to cast, so I think I mulligan. I mean, this isn't great either. We do have an opt. I think I'll mulligan once more. Okay, well, we're on the draw. I have an opt to hopefully get a red source, which I do, so I'll keep that on top. And we have a shock that unfortunately I can't play right now. So I think I'll just main phase opt. I don't know that it's going to make too much of a difference. We'll bottom that and hopefully get some more action. Another land. So I'm hoping that Steel Leaf Champion doesn't come out. I mean, that's not great either. So we can play the Sulphur Falls, shock the Llanowar Elves, and then just hope that we get a way to deal with the Thorn Lieutenant in maybe Lava Coil, or, I mean, Beacon Bolt at this point won't really do much. So we'll bolt the bird, as they say. We'll be taking 2. Be at 3 mana. I hope to draw some sort of counter magic. Okay, so that wasn't counter magic. We do have Crackling Drake. It's not going to be huge, but it could be a decent blocker. Okay, that's a little scary. Don't know how we're going to deal with this. I mean, we can play that and then maybe deal with blocking the Thorn Lieutenant, however. So he loses all abilities. So if I deal with, that could be activated. So if I draw, well, it's a 6/6. I mean, none of my removal will really do much. So this will block the Thorn Lieutenant effectively, but we're still taking 6. Only 2 instants in the graveyard, and Galta comes out. So I think that is all, my friends. We'll go ahead and concede. Okay, so that was a tough one. Yeah, couldn't do much there. I mean, we can maybe finish off this constructed event. This iteration of the deck that I submitted isn't that great, but I mean, we might as well just play and hopefully get some good matchups in. I don't believe this format has best of 3 either. So I'm not too confident at the moment with it, but that's okay. Shock, Electrostatic Fields. I'm on the draw, Sarkhan. This could be pretty good if I end up drawing a land. So I think I'll keep. I think I do want to take 2 and then shock Llanowar Elves. And then hope that just prevents them from ramping hard. Okay, Doom Whisperer, noted. So that's a 2/3. This is a pretty effective blocker. I'm not really sure what to think of this card. I mean, it seems pretty decent in just your general aggressive matchups. I can play Sarkhan here. And then potentially draw or discard a Lava Coil. Because, I mean, beyond the Seeker Squire, I don't know that Lava Coil is going to do much against their other creatures. Okay, I mean, Niv Mizzet's pretty good if I can get that beast out. So hoping to draw into, I mean, we can cast Niv Mizzet now. So that might be pretty key. They're at 4 mana. They may have Vraska's Contempt. But it could also just be way too much. Let's see. Let's give it a shot.
They are coming.
Do that. Cast Niv Mizzet. If I untap with it, okay, that'll do it. So then I can opt. I'll play the. Actually, I probably want to discard that maybe. And I can opt and then Lava Coil the Doom Whisperer. Okay, I think Lava Coil is pretty useful here. I can do the damage to my opponent. So maybe they'll just surveil for days because the Doom Whisperer is going to die. They're probably not too worried about their life total. I mean, they should be. I do have a Niv Mizzet. And it's exiled, which is nice. So we drew a mountain. So I'll play the Izzet Guildgate. Or do I discard that? I can play the Lava Coil on the Wild Growth Walker. I don't want them gaining life. And I can plus Sarkhan, discard the Izzet Guildgate. And then I'll attack. And pass the turn. Okay, so that was pretty good. I mean, if they can't deal with Niv Mizzet, we'll be able to do 1 damage to them and then hit for 5. So, all right, they've conceded. I mean, Sarkhan was 1 loyalty away from ultimate, so that's decent as well. So we ended up mulliganing to 5 and still pulled it out. So that's the importance of the mulligan. And my previous stream was all about mulligans and draws, so I think I'm getting a little bit better at just asking good questions throughout my play. I think this is pretty good. We want another blue source. I would like 1 more land. instead of maybe the direct current. But we can hope that we just draw into a blue source. Okay, Llanowar Elves and Bolt the Bird. Okay, I think we leave mana up and then opt on their end step. Okay, we'll opt in response. That's actually a really good draw. So if we make them pay 4 life, I'm okay with that. I mean, that's fine. Okay, so that's not good. We need to draw our land. And this is not good either. So we are stuck on lands, unfortunately. We're going to take 6. We are in trouble, my friends. And that's not great either. I think we concede. We're just way too far behind. Way too far behind. 2 losses. Oh no. On the draw, if we draw land and then that's a tapped land, so that's not, oh, see, yeah, this iteration of the deck still has tapped lands, so it's not great. I think I'll keep. We have a turn 1 play, we have turn 2 play. If we draw land, we have a turn 3 play. So we have a Boros matchup. We'll shock. And then we pass the turn and then opt on their end step. Give us a land. There we go. A blue source is good too. I think the electrostatic field will be pretty effective here. If they attack, okay, no blockers. This is gonna hurt. Taking 8. So Crackling Drake. I mean, they have lethal on board, so I kind of have to do this and then hope they just don't have much else to add to their board. I mean, in this case, I probably... No, I mean, I'm going to lose... Okay. I lose anyway. Yeah, these aggressive matchups are just tough. Okay, well, let's hope for something decent here. Unclaimed territory, that's kind of whatever. All right, so nothing special. Okay, let's continue to play the slightly better version of that deck. Okay, this is pretty good, I think. I'll keep. We want to draw some lands, of course. I don't know what I'm playing against, so the island or mountain can be important, whether I want to shock or opt. All right, so Dimir, so I'm probably going to be... discarding cards here. Whoa, there we go. Okay, that's pretty good. No thought erasure, so that's kind of nice. Unless they respond with... Well, no, that's a sorcery, so... Okay, that's good. We want that. You can play Sulfur Falls, Sarkhan. A 3-drop would be like Disinformation Campaign. So I wouldn't be able to do much with that anyway, so I think I'll play Sarkhan. Oh, okay. Fair enough. So no land. And no land for my opponent. Okay, let's main phase opt. Niv Mizzet's going to go to the bottom. Okay, let's see. Detection Tower, interesting. Crackling Drake. You know, I have another one. I can try and sneak one out. They'll be at 5. Maybe I want to keep Essence Scatter mana up. I think I do. Because they were stuck on lands, which means they have spells in their hand. And they probably have fairly expensive spells. Okay, so Teferi might be a drop here. Unfortunately, I don't have Sinister Sabotage. So they're going to have to go to discard if they don't do anything. And they discard a Ritual of Suits. So I have a feeling this is going to get countered. Okay, maybe not. Or they'll... Okay. This is where negate would be real nice. Yeah, there's Teferi.
If you show remorse, no time for a break.
I mean, Disdainful Stroke is really the only thing I can think of in order to counter the Crackling Drake. I mean, Essence Scatter, of course, or another Cast Down. Okay, we will pass. Okay, if they have a Syncopate or something for this, that'd be really too bad. But I can pay 1, so... And judging by the fact that they're hesitating here, they may have a Syncopate. Okay, so they're countering their own Vraskas. Okay. I think that's good. I need consistent pressure here. So my has no target. And then I can take out Teferi now. At least, I think. Oh, okay, they can tuck. Okay, fair enough. Okay, that's a really good draw.
No more game. Don't make another move.
Three mana, if I take 2, I think I want to leave that untapped, or put it in untapped, because now we're kind of projecting Sinister Sabotage. And another Crackling Drake's coming next turn, so it'll be a decent amount of pressure for them, especially if they can't get rid of this Drake. So they may kind of main phase Chemister's Insight. They have another Ritual of Suit in the bin. Guess we can try and resolve another. I mean, they did draw. But, you know what, if they have it, they have it. I'm not really thinking it's worth using Essence Scatter on my own Drake. Why? I mean, they surveil. So Niv Mizzet would be a really good draw. Because we need to continue, and they've conceded. Okay. Interesting. Fair enough. Whoa, what just happened there? Maybe it's in our best interest to play some of these decks here. Just to get some gold quicker. So 30 green or white spells, I'm almost... I mean, we can try them out too. I do want to see what's in this. Okay, History of Benalia, Knightly Valor, Enchantment. That's a great limited card. Shalai's nice. Well, one thing I might be able to do here is improve the land base. Let's see what check lands and or fetch land, not fetch lands, shock lands I have. I have 3 Overgrown Tomb. That's, well, there's no black, okay. Guild Gates. I have 3 Temple Garden. That's nice. 2, 3. Sun Petal Grove, unless you control. Okay, so there's 1 check land. So this is pretty much the best I think we're gonna do for land base. I mean, let's try it. That way we can actually accumulate some of these rewards and get more gold. And then hopefully get the cards we need quicker to build the mono red aggro and Izzet spells deck. Not a great hand. Although, in all honesty, I'm not... Oh, this is not great. I think I'm going to mulligan this one. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of ways to deal with enchantments, so I mean, this could work. Okay. All right, well, we'll pay 2, cast Novice Knight. I have very, well, not very limited even, I have no experience with this deck, so we will see. And once again, word of the stream is lacuna, an unfilled space or a gap. One of the many, many words I've learned from my my reading endeavors. I'm an avid reader and love it. Encourage anyone seeing this to read regularly if you don't already. It's a tremendous activity. I mean, in general, but, you know, especially when you find the subjects you really love to read, it was life-changing for me. I mean, even back there, I got a pile of books that I'm currently reading or need to get through. Current reads, which are visible on the tablets on the my Twitch channel page, are Spinoza's Ethics, Origins of Totalitarianism, The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky, and this is technically an audiobook, but Goodbye Things by Fumio Sasaki. It's a book on minimalism, which is something that I practice in my life, not quite to the degree that the author does, but in a lot of things, I like to live pretty minimally. So check out those books if you ever feel like it. Spinoza's Ethics is very dense, very deep stuff, philosophical. Brothers Karamazov is a work of fiction, but also very philosophical in nature. Asks a lot of very deep questions and presents different characters, very different characters that sort of force you to confront different elements of character and how they all interact in life. So another awesome book that I'm probably only a couple hundred pages away from finishing. Been excellent so far, but also pretty dense. Not a book that I recommend just starting off with if you don't read a lot. Okay, so my opponent has conceded. That one didn't feel great. All right, well, we're going to try again. We do want to cast some red or white spells so we can get the gold rewards. And you know what? Maybe play something a little different. I don't have all the cards to build the kind of the meta decks, which would be awesome, but okay, this doesn't seem like too bad of a hand. One 3 lifelink might be pretty good versus an aggressive matchup, but I don't think that's what we are up against here. Oh, that was blue-green. I thought that was black-green. Okay. Okay, so that's going to get a counter. Okay, land, that's pretty good. 2/2 vigilance. I mean, Siegehorn Ceratops might be an interesting one to place. I mean, we don't really have anything to efficiently use our mana. I'm curious as to how this mechanic works. So if I block with the Siegehorn and it takes damage, I put the 2 counters on it, but then does it still die? I don't know, actually. I'm curious as to how that would work. Okay, the unblockable one. So we're essentially in a race here. I'm curious as to how this will work. Okay. I think I want blockers up, so oh no, I didn't want to attack with the date break chaplain. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. I meant to only attack with the Seachorn. That all attacks button. Getting me once again. So they'll probably only attack with the Mistcloak Herald. I don't really have a way to remove that, so... So we need another green source. We're behind on board here, so I think we want to trade. We would really like another green source. 2/2 Vigilance. I really got to pay attention to their mana. Whether merfolk play, you know, Essence Scatters or counter spells, I'm not quite sure. That can't be blocked anyway. I'm curious as to this Enrage ability. If it blocks the Mistbinder, okay, it didn't. So we are likely going to lose this race. Okay. That's a pretty good draw. Okay, we'll do that. I'm curious as to how this will work. I don't know if they'll block. I guess not. Okay, so this is kind of rough here. So they're at 13. So if I go 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I have exactly, if they don't block, oh, this is an enchantment. Oh, jeez. I thought it was, oh, this is how bad it is. I thought this was an instant. Okay, so let's see. I mean, if they attack... That was a mistake. I mean, they would have blocked, maybe double blocked. But I think 357, they can bring me down to 7. I mean, bring me down to 1. So they likely can't attack here. 3, 5, 7, 9. If I attack with the Siege Horn, they can quadruple block and take 4. So that'll become a 6, 7. I mean, all I can really do is just 5, 6, 7. So that's 8, and then 17 on the board. Let's just swing with everything. So they'll take 4 trample damage if they double block this. If they double block, or if they just kind of block, that's 6. I don't know what they have in their hand. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, well, good game to my opponent. So I should have... I mean, Prodigious Growth, I thought it was like that other pump spell. Not Prodigious Growth, but anyway. I believe it's an instant. It's a combat trick. But this is an enchantment, which, I mean, kind of makes sense in the deck. So I should have attached it pre-combat. Okay, I'm on the draw. I think this is okay. Hopefully we get a green source. Perhaps another Merfolk deck. I actually don't know if this is the same person. So it could potentially become a 2/5 blocker, but I mean the idea behind these Merfolk, it seems to not be able to block. So we're hoping that we hit a land. So we've got to keep an eye out for dive down. You know, we can attack, I presume, and gain some life, but I don't think so. Okay, that's pretty good. Thorn Lieutenant is also pretty nice. I could have used my mana more efficiently there and casted History of Benalia. Okay, no attackers. Okay, still no land. Hmm. Two, three. Let's put the green wood sentinel down. Like right now, just looking to develop a board, be able to kind of match my opponent's creatures, and then hopefully stall this out so I can hit some lands. We'll attack with the knights. Try and get some value out of that History of Benalia trigger. Okay, that's pretty good. So a 5/5 first strike. Four, five, six, yeah. So I think we maybe spread the love here. I doubt this has any target. Their deck has targeted removal. Ouch. Okay, so we can cast Luminous Bonds. Or Knightly Valor. Two counters. So dive down could be coming. Well, it's not target, so I don't think dive down. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, I don't necessarily want to attack with Danitha, just because they can. I mean, if I do, I can probably take out a good amount of their board. So I think I hope to draw Luminous Bonds. Flyers, that Shalai would be pretty nice right now. I think that's my ideal draw. Seven, 7. So we are just throwing creatures on the battlefield, my opponent and I. I think that's what I need. The Shalai is just kind of maintain a stable board state and then drop a flyer. I mean, these things are going to get bigger, though. This is hilarious. Again, I think Shalai will be the difference here. I don't know that their deck will have any flyers, and if I can get Shalai out and then protect all other creatures on my side of the battlefield, that's what I'll need. Um, let's see. Now, if they have a dive down, that would really hurt. Okay, that's not great either. I might not even survive here, so I'm putting that on Danitha while she's tapped, of course. And for I mean, the life link's nice. So if I do that, that's 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now I can't do that. I don't even know if this is enough. I mean, I do gain 3 life. So 2, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, well. All right. Interesting game, my friends. Interesting game. I think we got our gold, though, so that's what we're after here. Yay! 1,500. Okay, so let's get a pack. And so I want a Phoenix or Runaway Steamkin. I'm not close to really getting another rare wild card. So the Phoenix is the mythic. So let's go for that. I mean, the logic there, it's a lot less likely I'll get the mythic, I suppose. But it's easier to work toward a rare wild card. So Tomb Robber, okay. All right, a little underwhelming there, but okay, let's get back to the Izzet Spells deck. Play one more game using this deck. On the play, we want to, I think this is, it's okay. We want to draw into a red source. We have a turn 1 play, we have turn 2 play, turn 3 play, with potentially 2 instants in the graveyard, so the Beacon Bolt might not be too bad, but we'll see. Okay, let's hope we draw into... That's good. Although it's unfortunate I have to take 2 damage. I don't want to do that. I mean, we could play the island, and then the 2-drop could potentially be a runaway Steamkin. So if we can Essence Scatter that, that's not too bad. I mean, that does prevent us from taking an extra 2. Chain Whirler comes down. Oh, black. I take action. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. I complete the Firemind's Research and then shock. I mean, they didn't play a 3, well, they did play a 3-drop, but I think we can stabilize or, you know, maybe get a big body on the board next turn. I think this is a good play. We will leave the shock up and then maybe see what comes out next. If they risk factor, for each of those cards, put that card into your hand unless any opponent pays 3 life. Okay. I think I'll shock. Oh, I shouldn't have done that because they could sack the Firebrand now. I should have waited until it went to attack. So if I take action, pay 3, oh, okay. I'm losing 3 life anyway. So I just lose to a lightning strike now, but it was all burns, so I mean, I was taking the damage anyway. Okay. That's unnecessary. GG to my opponent. I mean, I couldn't counter the burn, so it's kind of like, okay, well, they have it anyway. They'll just throw it at me, especially with the 1 mana up, so... Let's get one more in there. Hopefully we can close this stream with a win. I like having the counter. If this is an aggressive matchup, it can be a little iffy. It's a better hand on the draw. Okay, so that's good. We do get another blue source. Okay, so we pass the turn. They may be Izzet as well. Okay, this guy is pretty deadly, so I want to get rid of that. A fourth land. Okay. Okay, I think we let that guy go through. Okay, Essence Scatter is pretty good. What's the best way to do this? I can Lava Coil. I don't think I want to do that quite yet. I'm not under too much pressure. Okay. I mean, it's going in the graveyard, which is still pretty good for my opponent. They can get it back potentially, but I want some land. Okay, that's pretty good. I'll put this in. I don't have 2 blue mana sources up, so I'll pay the 2 life, even though I really don't want to. I'll be at 6 mana. I want something more to work with, though. I need counter magic. I need maybe a Crackling Drake or an Izzet. I'm just hoping they don't drop a Phoenix or something. Okay, they do. I mean, I do have an answer for the Phoenix. And that's nice because it's exiled. I'm at 9. I don't really want to Beacon Bolt a Fanatical Firebrand, but I may end up having to. I really hope they don't draw something like an, I don't know. I doubt they play Rekindling Phoenix. Okay, that's pretty good. It's a 6-4. This is a lot of pressure for my opponent if they can't deal with it. I mean, they're at 2 cards in hand. I don't want them to get an experimental frenzy. They're shocking me. I'll be at 6. I mean, I can't stop it. Okay, Disdainful Stroke's pretty good. Let's see. I think I do have to attack. Do I maybe Beacon Bolt? Okay, so they're going to want to sacrifice the Fanatical Firebrand to do 1 damage to me. They're probably looking for, I don't know if there's a Banefire main board. Nine, but on their end step, I'm going to look to Explosion. Let's put a stop there. If I take 1, I'm at 5, and they have 2 lightning strikes. I'm at 8. How much mana? 4, 7, 8, 9. I'll only do 5 damage. So 2, and then if they maybe have a lightning strike, am I dead? Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So X is 5. Okay, well, let's see. Okay, I was gonna say, I mean, I could maybe just attack, and then if they're slow rolling me on the lightning strike, then maybe I just opt in response and hope I hit a counter spell. Okay, cool. Well, that's a little bit better way to end the stream. So that's it for now. I hope that midsection whole thing, the segment was useful. One of my favorite segments of progressive calisthenics, love squats as well, but core work is a really important factor of any sort of strength training or training in general. And midsection holds are a really fun way to do that, and not only fun but extremely challenging. So don't worry if your progress is slow, or like I was saying before, if you can't hold them for too long. It's just about perseverance and getting enough rest and then doing multiple sets. So a lot of sets. I used to do at least 10 back when I started out and kind of midway through. And even now, I mean, I can hold them a little longer, so my set amounts are a bit lower, but the way I approached it, and even with muscle ups, obviously a different exercise altogether, but for a long time I could only do one, which was fine, but I would do, say, as many sets as possible of that one muscle up just to develop strength, and now I can do 5 in one go, and then after that 5 I'll maybe do 4, and then 2, and then just continue to do 1. So kind of, it's more about understanding where you're at, your capabilities, and then tailoring your routine to that. So muscle ups are another topic that I'll get to. I have a progression video for that. I'm looking forward to talking about that. You can check out all this content that I've developed over the years on Elevate Your Craft. That's the channel, the handle, Elevate Your Craft, all one word. That's the YouTube channel, Facebook as well. And I'm on Twitter at EYCKAS and Instagram under EYCKAS. But that's it for today's stream. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you again in the near future. Thanks a lot, guys.